Well, the book begins in our narrator's bedroom, Charlie Bucktin, who's a 13-year-old boy who's quite shy and sensitive and bookish. And he lives in a country town in Western Australia called Corrigan, which is a mining town. And it's late one night, and he's reading under the light of his hurricane lamp, and he receives a knock on his window, and he opens the louvers, and it's Jasper Jones, who in a lot of respects is kind of Charlie's antithesis. You know, they're very, very disparate characters. Jasper Jones is a kind of rebellious, independent kid who's sort of pushed to the margins in this country town. You know, he's very solitary. He's mixed race. He comes from a disrupted household, more or less. And so it's a surprise for Charlie to see Jasper Jones at his window. The two boys have never previously intersected, they've never spoken before. And Jasper asks Charlie for his help. He wants Charlie to come out into the night to see something because he wants him to help. And Charlie's kind of terrified, but he's also desperate to impress Jasper because he's this alluring figure that he'd like to know more about. And so he follows Jasper Jones out into the night. They walk through the town, through the pastoral districts, into the bush, along the river, until they come to a clearing, and it's this sort of secret glade that is Jasper's own part of the world. And it's here that Jasper shows Charlie this horrible crime, this terrible event that's taken place. And Jasper is convinced that he'll be blamed for it because he's the kid in town that's going to get blamed for everything, despite any evidence to the contrary. And so he enlists Charlie as this kind of compassionate character, someone that might understand things from his point of view. And so the two boys set out to solve this crime. And that's really where the book begins. And as an extension of that, it's really about how the town reacts, how it tightens in fear and suspicion, and what happens to Jasper Jones. And it's this boy's journey towards truth, I guess. I do, yeah. I like to think that I'm fairly evenly distributed through the three boys. Charlie Bucktin has a best friend called Jeffrey Lou, who is a very cheeky, antagonistic little guy, but he's also admirable for so many reasons. You know, he's bullied relentlessly in this town because he is of Vietnamese heritage, but he's completely unflappable and so admirable in so many ways. And so I like to think that various portions of my character have bled into these three boys and been extrapolated and very much exaggerated. And so it was a joy to write all three of them. But I guess I feel the biggest kinship with Charlie, simply because his voice probably echoes mine the strongest at that age, and because we come to know him so well. And I think the older I get, the more I'd like to sort of become Jasper Jones, this kind of quieter, more independent and thoughtful kind of figure. I was banging my head up against this book that wasn't working. It was too ambitious, it was going nowhere, and I was starting to lose interest in it, which is the worst sign. And as a consequence, I was starting to lose hope in it. And there's no worse feeling than knowing that you're drowning in something of your own creation, And so, yeah, Jasper Jones sort of became this sort of mistress. I felt quite guilty for having these separate ideas, and then I had to make this horrible choice. Do I follow this new idea and leave this horrible one that I've been married to for so long? And it's a tough decision for a very stubborn little man. And I'm so glad that I did follow Jasper Jones and follow my instincts in that regard. So the other one is kind of shelved, never to be seen again. It started with the name, curiously enough. As soon as the name came to me, it kept echoing around my brain, and it wouldn't let me go. And I guess when you're interested to the point where it becomes a distraction, you're onto something, you've been gifted with an idea worth pursuing. And it was just from the name that I was able to infer things about his character, what he might look like, where he might be and what era he might be in. And so it sort of, it all swirled from that and began taking shape and focusing. And that was really the spark for the book. It was the first idea I had, yeah. As soon as I crystallized Jasper Jones as a character, and as soon as I had this setting, this kind of quiet, hot, nocturnal setting, I knew that, that Gothic fiction would be the best context, or the best method by which to tell this story. And so as soon as I knew what kind of book I was writing, I knew which books I would sort of subconsciously reference, you know. And it's those books that I grew up reading and adoring, you know, those books like To Kill a Mockingbird and, you know, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, as well as Welty and Faulkner and McCullers and all these wonderful regional American writers. I guess I wanted to borrow from that ilk of literature. Because I grew up loving those books. I had such a strong response to them. I'm not really sure why. I think just the warmth of the characters and the heat and that sense of pressure, I think it has a lot of parallels with the Australian condition, the Australian experience, and so I wanted to borrow from that and write a book of Australian Gothic.